You unlocked my collar, human, by our law that makes you mine. The alien queen wasn't asking what could unlocking one collar possibly mean under an alien law. And why was the alien queen so certain that the human now belonged to her? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Before we begin, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another journey into the unknown. Thank you for being here, for watching, and for continuing to support the stories we share with you. Before we start, tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from, and what time is it there right now? Get comfortable, settle in, and prepare to cross the boundaries between two very different worlds. Let's begin the story. Human, do not touch the lock. Nathan Reed froze with the rescue tool less than an inch from the silver collar around the alien woman's throat. Somewhere above them, the orbital station groaned as emergency bulkheads shifted under backup power. Red lights pulsed along the narrow maintenance corridor. The ventilation fans had slowed enough that Nathan could hear each mechanical bearing turning. More important, the oxygen display beside the sealed hatch read 17% and falling. That is going to need a better explanation, he said. The woman sat against the wall beneath the dead access panel, tall even with one knee raised, deep teal skin reflecting the emergency lights in muted crimson. Silver-black hair rested across the shoulders of a dark formal uniform. Her golden eyes remained fixed on his hands. She looked exhausted, but not frightened. Opening this collar has legal meaning among my people. Nathan glanced at the oxygen indicator. 16.8. Does the legal meaning include breathing? Her expression sharpened. You make humor at inappropriate moments. That means you understand humans. Nathan returned his attention to the device. He was a civilian rescue engineer, not a diplomat. Locks made sense. Politics usually did not. The collar was connected wirelessly to the station security system, and every door in this section was reading its biometric restriction. As long as it remained active, the inner hatch refused to release while she was present. Nathan had already tried isolating the door sensor. No response. He could leave her behind and reach breathable atmosphere alone. That option had lasted approximately 3 seconds in his mind. There is another route, she said. How far? Approximately 900 feet through the lower service ring. Nathan checked his portable atmosphere monitor. We do not have 900 feet of oxygen. He opened his toolkit. The collar had no conventional latch, only a magnetic interlock buried beneath a seamless housing. Advanced design. Terrible choice for a rescue situation. Nathan slid a thin induction probe beneath its outer edge. The woman watched him. Human. Nathan. Nathan. I told you not to open it. And I heard you. 15.9%. The warning light changed from amber to red. Nathan adjusted the probe frequency. You also told me opening it means something. It does. You can explain what it means when that number stops dropping. For the first time, uncertainty crossed her face. Not fear of the collar. Fear of what came after it. Nathan noticed. He simply did not have enough oxygen left to respect a mystery more than a life. The induction probe chirped. One magnetic pin released. Then another. Last chance to tell me this thing controls the station reactor. It does not. Great. Nathan triggered the emergency bypass. The collar made one quiet metallic click. It opened. The sealed hatch immediately changed from red to green. Fresh ventilation began cycling beyond it. Nathan removed the collar carefully and held it in one hand. See? Nobody exploded. The alien woman stared at him. Her expression had become unreadable. You truly do not know what you have done. I unlocked a door with extra steps. The hatch behind Nathan opened. Cool air moved through the corridor. He inhaled with relief, then noticed the silence. 6 karate officers stood beyond the doorway in dark ceremonial uniforms. Every one of them was staring at the open collar in Nathan's hand. Then they looked at the woman. One officer slowly lowered his head. The others followed. Nathan glanced between them. Okay, I am guessing this is the part where somebody explains the cultural problem. The alien woman rose to her full height, nearly 6 feet 7 inches, and stepped through the doorway. Every officer bowed deeper. Nathan looked at her, then at them, then back at her. You are not just some diplomat, are you? Her golden eyes settled on him. No, Nathan Reed. The emergency lights reflected along the open collar between his fingers. And you should have listened when I told you not to touch the lock. Nathan discovered her identity 12 seconds later, when the oldest officer in the corridor lowered his head and said, Your Majesty, the royal shuttle is secure. Nathan looked at the woman beside him, then at the officer, then back at her. Your Majesty? She extended one hand toward the open collar. Give me that. Nathan handed it over carefully. You could have mentioned the Queen part. You did not ask. Most people lead with that. Her golden eyes narrowed, though Nathan caught the faintest movement at one corner of her mouth. Queen Valara Sorin. The officer continued. We should depart immediately. Station systems remain unstable. Nathan glanced at the oxygen monitor. 19% and rising. Emergency ventilation had finally returned. That sounds like the first good idea anyone has had today. He closed his rescue kit and turned toward the maintenance junction. My team should be 2 levels down. Nathan read. Valira's voice stopped him. He turned. She was holding the collar with both hands now, studying the separated locking mechanism. You cannot leave. Nathan looked at the green hatch behind them. Actually, I just fixed that problem. I am not referring to the door. The 6 officers became remarkably interested in the floor. Nathan recognized that behavior. It was universal. Something uncomfortable was about to become his problem. What exactly are you referring to? Valara looked toward the senior officer. Commander Tauren, has anyone else witnessed the release? The corridor security archive recorded it, Your Majesty. Of course it did, Nathan muttered. Tauren continued. The station transmitted an automated event record to the royal vessel before the network failed. Valara closed her eyes briefly. Then it is already registered. Nathan lifted one hand. Registered as what? Nobody answered immediately. I am starting to miss the oxygen problem. Valara stepped closer. Without the collar, her posture seemed subtly different. Not softer, larger somehow. The officers around her were not simply protecting an important diplomat. They were orienting themselves around her. Come with us, she said. That sounded less like an invitation than I would prefer. It was not an invitation. Nathan stared at her. That is generally when humans start asking more questions. You will receive answers aboard my vessel. And my rescue team. Tauren touched his wrist display. Terran Rescue Unit 4 reports all personnel accounted for. They have been informed that Engineer Reed assisted a diplomatic evacuation. Nathan looked at him. Did you tell them I accidentally created an international incident? Tauren's expression remained perfectly serious. We do not yet know whether it is international. Nathan sighed. Somehow that made it worse. 10 minutes later, he stood inside the royal shuttle while the damaged station receded beyond a panoramic window. Valara sat opposite him, the open collar sealed inside a transparent evidence case between them. Nathan had expected royal transportation to be decorated. Instead, everything was dark metal, clean lines, and quiet efficiency. Was someone trying to keep you inside that section? He asked. Valira's gaze moved to the case. The collar was issued under an emergency security protocol after the station network identified me as a restricted diplomatic principal, meaning the computer locked you down for your own protection. That is the official explanation. Nathan heard what she did not say. And the unofficial one? Not yet. Stars shifted beyond the window as the shuttle turned. A vessel came into view, enormous and silver black, surrounded by smaller escorts. Nathan leaned toward the glass. That is yours. Yes. Of course it is. The shuttle entered a bright docking bay. When the doors opened, Nathan followed Valara onto the deck and stopped. 2 lines of karate officers waited in complete silence. Every one of them bowed to her. Then, unexpectedly, several turned their eyes toward Nathan. Not hostile, not friendly. Assessing. Valara continued forward. Nathan caught up. You said I had a larger problem. You do. Would now be a good time? Soon. That word has caused humans considerable suffering. They entered a private lift. The doors closed, leaving them alone for the first time. Valara turned toward him. Nathan, among my people, removing that collar was not merely an act of rescue. He waited. Then what was it? The lift began rising through the royal vessel. Valara looked at him with the calm expression of someone about to explain why a simple click had changed far more than a locked door. It was a declaration recognized by laws older than this ship. The lift climbed in silence for several seconds before Nathan finally said, When someone says ancient law immediately after I accidentally trigger it, I generally assume my day is getting worse. Valara stood opposite him, hands folded behind her back, golden eyes steady beneath the cool white ceiling light. Your assumption is reasonable. Wonderful. but incomplete. The lift doors opened into a private chamber overlooking the curve of the royal vessel. Stars moved slowly beyond a wall of glass. Veilira crossed to a dark table and activated a translation display. Nathan remained standing. "The collar you removed has a specific status in karate law," she said. "It is called a collar of submission." Nathan glanced toward the evidence case carried in by Commander Tauren and placed near the door. That name could use better public relations. It was created in an age when public relations did not exist. Symbols appeared above the table. Nathan's translator converted them slowly. Release. Sovereign. Witness. Obligation. When a sovereign wears such a collar, Veilira continued, she cannot legally declare herself free. Another person must release her voluntarily. Nathan frowned. Why? Because the law assumes a restrained sovereign may be acting under coercion. That part actually makes sense. Veilira touched another symbol. The translator paused, searched for an equivalent, then produced a sentence in English. By release, the liberator becomes claimed beneath sovereign honor. Nathan stared at it. Claimed. The translation system recalculated. Bound to the sovereign. That is not better. Veilira looked directly at him. The common translation would be this. You unlock my collar, human. By our law, that makes you mine. Nathan answered immediately. No, I was not asking. That is exactly why the answer is no. Commander Tauren shifted near the door, but Veilira lifted one hand, and he remained silent. Nathan pointed toward the display. I helped someone get through a locked hatch. I did not agree to become property. You are not property. Your translator appears deeply committed to another interpretation. Because your language has no exact equivalent. Nathan folded his arms. Then find several words. Veilira studied him for a moment, then changed the translation parameters. The sentence expanded. The sovereign whose freedom is restored accepts personal responsibility for the liberator's safety, standing, and dignity until the bond is lawfully resolved. Nathan read it twice. Wait. He looked at her. You are responsible for me? Yes. Not the other way around. Correct. Then why did you say I was yours? Because the karate word denotes someone placed beneath another's personal honor. Possession is the closest concise translation. Nathan stared at the display. Your concise translation nearly caused a diplomatic incident inside your own lift. I noticed. He rubbed his forehead. So what exactly can you make me do? Nothing. Nothing. The law grants me no authority over your choices. Veilira stepped closer to the table. It grants you protections from mine. That changed the room. Nathan lowered his arms. Explain. Until the bond is reviewed, no royal official may detain you, compel your service, confiscate your property, or demand repayment for my release. Any gift must be refused if accepting it could create obligation. Nathan blinked. That sounds less like claiming me and more like making sure you cannot claim me. Veilira became very still. An interesting interpretation. It is literally what you just described. Commander Tauren looked toward the Queen, but she remained focused on Nathan. The law is older than our current monarchy, she said. Its ceremonial language has survived longer than its original context. And I am guessing nobody expected a human rescue engineer to activate it. No outsider has done so in 312 years. Nathan exhaled. Of course. Veilira dismissed the translation display. Tomorrow the royal court will formally recognize the release. They will expect you to request compensation. I do not want compensation. Land, rank, financial credit, citizenship privileges. No. Veilira's expression finally cracked. Not with anger, but genuine confusion. You do not yet know what could be offered. Nathan looked at the sealed collar. He remembered the oxygen display dropping, the red emergency light, and a stranger telling him not to touch the lock. I did not know you were a queen. I am aware. That is the point. He picked up his rescue kit. I did not open it for a queen. I opened it because someone was wearing a locked collar and we were running out of air. Veilira said nothing. For the first time since Nathan had met her, the alien queen seemed to have no law ready for what a human had just said. The royal court expected Nathan Reed to ask for something expensive. By the end of the morning, he had disappointed them 6 times. The first offer was financial credit large enough to purchase a small house on Earth. Nathan declined. The second was permanent residence within karate territory. Declined. The third was an honorary technical rank aboard the royal fleet. Declined. By the fourth offer, several officials seated around the crescent-shaped chamber had begun staring at him as though refusal itself were a suspicious human ritual. Nathan stood beneath pale blue ceiling lights in the same gray rescue uniform he had worn on the station. His toolkit rested beside his boots. Across the chamber, Queen Valyra sat at the central table rather than on the elevated ceremonial platform prepared for her. Nathan noticed that. He suspected everyone else did too. Perhaps Engineer Reed does not understand the value of the compensation, one court official said. Nathan's translator rendered the karate words half a second late. I understand it, Nathan replied. That is why I am saying no clearly. Another official leaned forward. The bearer of release traditionally accepts recognition from the sovereign. Recognition sounds fine. Nathan glanced toward the ceremonial case containing a silver insignia. The part where recognition comes with property, rank, and obligations is where I lose interest. A murmur moved through the chamber. Valyra lifted 2 fingers. Silence returned immediately. Nathan, she said, the court is attempting to honor what you did. I know. Then why resist every offer? Nathan looked around the room. Because I fixed an emergency problem. My rescue unit does that every day. Your rescue unit does not free monarchs every day. Yesterday, I did not know I was freeing one. That quieted the room again. Valyra studied him. Then tell the court what you want. Nathan considered it. A shuttle back to my team. My equipment returned. Maybe a replacement induction probe, because yours burned out the tip. Several officials looked offended on behalf of the probe. Valyra almost smiled. Nothing else. A cup of actual coffee would improve diplomatic relations. This time she did smile, briefly. The court did not know what to do with that either. The hearing recessed 20 minutes later. Nathan expected to be escorted to guest quarters, but Valyra met him outside the chamber. She had changed from her formal royal cloak into a simpler dark uniform. Walk with me. Is that a royal command? No. Nathan picked up his toolkit. Good start. They followed a quiet observation passage running along the vessel's outer hull. Stars drifted beyond the glass. My advisors believe your refusals are strategic, Valyra said. They think I am bargaining. They think no rational person refuses leverage without seeking greater leverage. Nathan nodded slowly. That explains a lot about politics. Valyra stopped beside the window. I asked what you wanted. You gave me transportation and coffee. I am flexible about the coffee. Why? Nathan looked at her. Why what? Why truly ask for nothing? He rested one hand on the railing. Because helping you did not create a debt. Valyra's expression tightened with thought. Karate law disagrees. Maybe the wording does. Nathan looked toward the stars. But the protections you described yesterday do not sound like a reward system. They sound like somebody was worried a powerful person might turn gratitude into control. Valyra became very still. Nathan noticed. What? That interpretation is not taught in modern legal instruction. Does that make it wrong? I do not know. She activated a wall terminal and searched the royal archive. Ancient text appeared in gold symbols. Nathan could not read it, but the translation slowly formed beneath. The sovereign restored to freedom shall place no chain of debt upon the hand that opened the first chain. Nathan read the sentence twice. Valyra did the same. There it is, he said quietly. The law beneath the ceremony. Her golden eyes moved across the ancient text. The earliest version does not describe possession. What does it describe? Valyra translated another line manually. Protection from obligation. Nathan nodded. So whoever wrote this understood something your court forgot. Which is? He looked at her. If somebody gives you freedom, you do not repay them by deciding what they owe you. The ship hummed softly around them. Valyra stared at the ancient words for a long moment. Then another message appeared on the terminal. Her expression changed immediately. Nathan noticed the temperature leave her voice before she spoke. The court has received a legal challenge. About me? About the release. She opened the message. Someone was claiming that because Nathan was human, he lacked standing under karate law. Nathan frowned. What happens if they are right? Valyra looked toward the sealed evidence chamber where the collar had been stored. Then legally, Nathan, they may claim you never freed me at all. The legal challenge arrived with 300 pages of ceremonial language and one very simple argument. Nathan Reed was human. Therefore, according to the petition, his hands could open a karate collar but could not perform a karate release. Nathan sat across from Veolara in the Royal Archive while ancient legal records floated above the table in pale gold. "That might be the dumbest sentence I have heard this week," he said. Veolara looked up from the petition. "You have had an unusually competitive week." "Fair." Nathan leaned closer to the display. "Who filed it?" "Lord Chancellor Varithus and 11 members of the Continuity Council." "Friends of yours?" "They would describe themselves as guardians of the throne." "That was not what I asked." Veolara's golden eyes hardened slightly. "No." Nathan studied the legal timeline. Something bothered him. The challenge had been prepared too quickly. Hundreds of citations had already been indexed before the station incident became public. How long would this take to write? "Several days. But I opened the collar yesterday." Veolara became still. Nathan pointed at the filing metadata. "This document existed before I touched that lock." She expanded the record. Creation timestamps appeared beside encrypted archive signatures. 41 hours before the station emergency. Veolara said nothing for several seconds. "The petition was prepared before I arrived at the station." Nathan leaned back. "Then somebody expected you to be wearing that collar." Commander Tauren entered moments later and sealed the archive door behind him. He carried a station security report. "Your Majesty, we completed the independent review you requested." Veolara stood. "Report. The emergency protocol did not activate automatically." Tauren placed the record on the table. "A diplomatic security authorization manually assigned your biometric identity to restricted status 17 minutes before the network failure." Nathan looked toward the evidence case holding the collar. "Someone turned the station into a very expensive locked room." Tauren nodded. The collar then prevented royal authentication while the Continuity Council prepared an emergency transfer of sovereign authority. Veolara's face remained composed, but her hands tightened behind her back. And Nathan interrupted the sequence. "Yes." Tauren looked at him. "By opening the collar, Engineer Reed restored Her Majesty's biometric authority before the transfer could be certified." Nathan stared at the silver device. Yesterday it had been a lock, then a cultural problem. Now it was evidence. So the challenge is not really about whether humans qualify under ancient law. Veolara answered quietly. "It is about whether my release counts." Tauren brought up another clause. If the tribunal ruled Nathan legally incapable of performing the release, Veolara's restored authority could be questioned from the moment the collar opened. The emergency transfer could then return for review. Nathan read the clause twice. "Can they put the collar back on you?" Tauren hesitated. Veolara answered instead. "Not physically without my consent. But they could restore its legal restrictions while the tribunal decides jurisdiction." Nathan looked at her. "Meaning doors stop recognizing you. Command systems stop accepting you. Potentially. A collar without the metal." Veolara held his gaze. "Yes." The room suddenly felt colder. Nathan understood why she had been so careful with the word freedom. Karate restraint was not always a chain. Sometimes it was a database refusing to recognize who you were. Tauren left to prepare the tribunal response. Nathan remained beside the archive table while Veolara searched older records. "There has to be something about outsiders," he said. "The law is 8 centuries old. Your people had contact with other species. Limited contact. Still counts." They searched for nearly an hour. Nathan understood perhaps one word in 20 until Veolara opened the earliest surviving version of the release covenant. The translation formed slowly. "No sovereign restored from restraint shall judge the liberator by blood, house, station, allegiance, or origin." Nathan pointed. "Origin." Veolara read the original symbol again. "It can also mean birthplace, lineage, or people." Sounds intentionally broad. Another line appeared. "The hand that opens the chain shall be recognized by the act, not by the name carried by the hand." Silence settled between them. Nathan looked at Veolara. "Your ancestors already answered this argument." "It appears they did." "Then why did everyone forget?" Veolara's expression turned distant. "Because laws survive more easily than the reasons they were written." Nathan looked again at the ancient text. A law supposedly about possession had turned out to protect the liberator. A ritual supposedly limited by tradition explicitly rejected bloodline. Every layer they removed revealed something simpler underneath. "Freedom first," Nathan said. "Everything else afterward." Veolara watched him. "That is a very human interpretation. Is it wrong?" She looked toward the collar. No. A notification appeared above the table. Tribunal convening time, 6 hours. Lyra dismissed it, then faced Nathan. You are not required to attend. The protection clause allows you to leave karate jurisdiction immediately. And if I leave, the council will argue that you abandoned standing. Nathan picked up his toolkit. Then I guess I am not leaving. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Nathan, this is no longer a rescue operation. He glanced at the collar behind the glass. Can they legally lock you out of your own identity again? She did not answer. She did not need to. Nathan set his toolkit back on the table. Then it still looks like one to me. 6 hours before the tribunal, Lyra offered Nathan a way out. The shuttle waited beyond the royal docking gallery. Engines warm, navigation already cleared for Terran space. Nathan stood beside his gray travel bag while pale starlight crossed the polished floor. You arranged this quickly, he said. The release covenant requires me to protect your freedom of movement. Lyra stood several feet away in a dark formal uniform, her silver-black hair secured behind her shoulders. If you board, no karate authority may order you back. Nathan looked through the glass at the waiting shuttle. And the tribunal? We'll continue without you. Which helps the council. Possibly. That sounds like yes wearing formal clothes. Lyra's golden eyes narrowed. Nathan, you are a civilian rescue engineer. You did not volunteer for a constitutional dispute. I did not volunteer for the station either. Somebody sent an emergency call. This is different. Is it? She stepped closer. Yes. There is no failing oxygen system now. No sealed hatch. No immediate physical danger. You owe me nothing. Nathan looked past her toward the evidence chamber visible through the adjoining corridor. The silver collar rested inside transparent containment, harmless now. Just metal and circuitry. Except it had never been only metal. If I leave and they win, what happens? He asked. Lyra was silent. Not the ceremonial version. Nathan turned toward her. The practical version. She looked at the shuttle before answering. The council could request temporary restoration of restricted sovereign status until jurisdiction is resolved. Your command access? Suspended. Royal authentication? Limited. Freedom to travel? A pause. Subject to tribunal authorization. Nathan nodded slowly. So they put the collar back without touching your neck. Lyra did not answer. The ventilation system whispered overhead. Nathan picked up his travel bag. For the first time, something like relief crossed her face. Then he walked past the shuttle entrance and set the bag beside the corridor wall. Lyra stared at him. What are you doing? Staying. I just explained why you should leave. You explained why I should stay. Her expression hardened. Do not mistake stubbornness for responsibility. Nathan met her gaze. Do not mistake giving me an exit for giving yourself one. That stopped her. He pointed toward the evidence chamber. Yesterday you told me not to open that collar because I did not understand what it meant. You were right. I did not. But I understood the lock. And now I understand enough. Nathan stepped closer to the glass. Somebody designed a legal argument before the station failed. Somebody manually restricted your identity. Somebody expected that collar to keep you from acting. Then I opened it. And suddenly their plan needed a new definition of who is allowed to free you. Lyra's jaw tightened. The tribunal will decide that definition. Then I want to hear them explain it while I am standing there. Why? Nathan turned toward her. Because I am apparently the inconvenient human in the sentence. For a moment, the corner of her mouth almost moved. Then the seriousness returned. They will question your motives. Easy. I wanted us to breathe. They will question your understanding of karate law. Also easy. I had none. That admission may damage our position. Then your legal system has a strange relationship with honesty. Lyra looked away, toward the stars beyond the gallery. You continue treating this as though the answer should be simple. Nathan shook his head. No. I think people make simple things complicated when complication benefits them. Her eyes returned to him. And what is simple here? Nathan glanced at the collar. You were locked. I opened it. Your oldest law says the act matters more than the name of the hand. Everything after that sounds like people arguing because they dislike the answer. Silence settled between them. Lyra slowly approached the evidence chamber. There is something you should know before we enter that tribunal. That sentence has never improved my day. If the release covenant is upheld, you will be given the right to dissolve our legal bond immediately. Nathan nodded. Good. Lyra studied him. You sound pleased. I like choices. So do I. The words were quiet, different from her royal voice. Nathan noticed, but did not press. A tribunal notification illuminated on the wall. 30 minutes until formal session. Veilira straightened. Very well. You stay by your own choice. That was the idea. She began walking toward the tribunal corridor. Nathan picked up his toolkit instead of his travel bag and followed. After several steps, Veilira glanced at it. Why are you bringing that? Nathan looked down at the battered case. Habit. You cannot repair a legal system with an induction probe. Probably not. He caught up beside her. But yesterday I thought I was only fixing a lock. Veilira said nothing after that. She did not need to. Ahead, the tribunal doors opened beneath cold white light, and Nathan walked toward them willingly. The first time he had freed the alien queen, he had not understood the meaning of his choice. This time he did. The tribunal chamber had no throne. Nathan liked that immediately. Veilira stood at a circular floor of dark glass while 12 members of the Continuity Council occupied elevated stations around her. Nathan remained several feet to her right, his battered toolkit resting beside his boots like an object that had wandered into the wrong century. The open collar sat inside a transparent evidence case at the center of the room. Lord Chancellor Varethus spoke first. The petitioner does not dispute that the human physically disengaged the restraint. Nathan leaned slightly toward Veilira. Generous of him. Nathan. Quiet. Understood. Varethus continued. We dispute that an off-world citizen without recognized karate standing can perform a sovereign release. Ancient legal symbols appeared above the chamber. The covenant is karate law. Its rights and obligations belong to karate subjects. Veilira answered calmly. Cite the restriction. Varethus paused. The restriction is inherent in jurisdiction. Then cite where the covenant says so. Silence. Nathan watched the council members exchange glances. They had expected ceremony. Veilira had asked for a sentence. Varethus changed direction. The liberator must understand the significance of the act. That is not stated either, Veilira said. Then asked the human. Every face turned toward Nathan. He straightened. Engineer Reed, Varethus said. When you opened the collar, did you understand karate sovereign law? No. A quiet murmur traveled around the chamber. Did you know the woman before you was Queen Veilira Soren? No. Did you intend to invoke the release covenant? I did not know it existed. Varethus spread his hands. Then there was no lawful intent. Nathan looked at the collar. Was the lock real? Varethus frowned. Explain. Was she actually restricted? That is not in dispute. Could she remove the collar herself? No. Could she pass the sealed hatch while wearing it? No. Nathan nodded. Then I understood the part that mattered. Varethus's expression cooled. You presume to determine what matters under our law. No. Your oldest version already did. Nathan glanced toward Veilira. She activated the archive citation they had found. Gold text appeared above the evidence case. The hand that opens the chain shall be recognized by the act, not by the name carried by the hand. Several council members leaned toward their displays. Varethus responded quickly. A poetic clause from an obsolete dialect. Then why is it still inside the covenant? Nathan asked. Engineer Reed, you are not here to question this council. Nathan looked around the circular chamber. That is interesting, because everybody has spent the last 20 minutes questioning me. Veilira's golden eyes shifted toward him. There was the faintest warning in them. There was also something else. Approval. Varethus restored the jurisdiction argument. The clause refers to house and lineage within karate society. It cannot reasonably include an unknown species. Nathan thought about that. Then he looked at the queen. May I ask him something? Veilira's expression almost softened. You just did. Right. Nathan faced Varethus. If a karate child had opened the collar, would it count? If legally competent. A farmer? Potentially. A mechanic? Yes. Someone from a house the queen disliked? Varethus hesitated. The covenant specifically prohibits discrimination by house. Nathan nodded. So the law keeps removing reasons to decide that the wrong person gave someone freedom. Nobody answered. He pointed toward the ancient text. Blood. House. Station. Allegiance. Origin. Your ancestors listed every excuse powerful people were using and crossed them out. One council member lowered her eyes toward the original wording. Nathan continued, quieter now. You keep asking whether I was qualified to free her. I think that is backward. Verithus stiffened. Backward. Nathan looked at the collar beneath the white tribunal lights. If freedom only counts when the right person gives it to you, then was it freedom? The chamber went completely still. No translator spoke. No console chimed. Even Veolyra seemed to stop breathing for a moment. Nathan rested one hand on his tool case. I did not know her bloodline. I did not know her title. I did not know your law. I knew she was wearing something she could not remove, behind a door she could not cross, while our air was running out. If your covenant was written to protect freedom, then none of the other things should have mattered first. Veolyra looked at him differently then. Not as queen to bearer. Not as sovereign to outsider. As one person hearing another finally say aloud what 8 centuries of ceremony had buried. The tribunal remained silent. And for the first time since Nathan had opened the collar, nobody in the room seemed interested in who his hand belonged to. They were finally looking at what it had done. The tribunal did not answer Nathan immediately. That was how he knew the question had mattered. 12 council stations remained illuminated above the dark glass floor, but the chamber had lost its earlier rhythm. No rapid objections. No ceremonial quotations. Only the low hum of ventilation and the pale reflection of the open collar inside its evidence case. Finally, the oldest council member requested the original covenant archive. Not the modern commentary. Not the ceremonial interpretation. The original. Golden symbols unfolded above the chamber. Veolyra read them silently, while Nathan watched translation lines appear beneath each passage. The first concerned bloodline. The second rejected status. The third rejected allegiance. Then came a passage nobody had cited before. The sovereign restored shall owe protection without possession, gratitude without command, and honor without claim upon the liberator's will. Nathan looked toward Veolyra. That seems fairly specific. Her golden eyes remained on the text. Extremely. Lord Chancellor Verithus rose. The language must be understood within its historical context. Then provide the context, the oldest council member said. Verithus stopped. Another archive opened. 8 centuries earlier, karate rulers rescued from captivity had sometimes rewarded their liberators with compulsory royal service. The practice had been defended as honor. The covenant had been created to end it. Nathan felt something settle into place. So that is why the law protects the person who opens the collar. Veolyra nodded slowly. Yes. And the phrase your translator rendered as mine? She looked at him. A later ceremonial shortening. That shortening needs work. For the first time, 2 council members appeared to agree with the human. The tribunal recessed for 19 minutes. Nathan waited beside the observation wall, while Veolyra stood several feet away, unusually quiet. You knew some of this, he said. Pieces. But not why it started. No. She looked through the glass toward the stars. We preserved the ritual and misplaced the warning. Nathan leaned against the railing. Humans do that too. That is not comforting. It was not intended to be. The tribunal recalled them. This time, nobody asked Nathan whether he understood karate law. The presiding council member read the ruling directly. The release covenant recognized the liberator by voluntary action, regardless of species, bloodline, political allegiance, or social standing. Nathan's release of Queen Veolyra was valid from the moment the collar opened. Her sovereign authority had therefore been restored legally and continuously. The Continuity Council's challenge was denied. Nathan released a breath he had not realized he was holding. Veolyra did not smile. She simply closed her eyes for one heartbeat. Then the ruling continued. Because the bond was valid, Nathan possessed the covenant's oldest protection, the unrestricted right to dissolve it. A document appeared on the table before him. That is it? Nathan asked. Veolyra stepped beside him. One signature. I have become suspicious of signatures. A sensible development. He read every line. Twice. Veolyra waited without impatience. The document stated that no debt remained between sovereign and liberator. No service could be demanded. No protection could be imposed against his will. No ceremonial claim survived dissolution. Nathan reached for the stylus, then paused. If I sign this, your council cannot use me against you again? Correct. And you cannot order me to stay? Something changed in Veolyra's expression. I never could. Good answer. Nathan signed. A soft tone sounded. The bond dissolved. Nothing dramatic happened. No lights changed. No ancient machinery awakened. The collar remained open inside its case. Nathan handed the stylus back. Veilira looked at the completed document. You are no longer beneath my protection, and I am definitely not yours. Her gaze lifted to his. You never were. Nathan smiled faintly. Your translator owes me an apology. I will have the phrase corrected. Around them, council members began leaving their stations. Nathan picked up his toolkit. The entire strange legal structure that had tied their lives together for 2 days was gone. He expected relief. He felt it. But beneath it was something quieter. Veilira seemed to feel it too. For the first time since they met, there was no collar between them, no covenant, no obligation, no ancient law deciding what either person owed the other. Nathan turned toward the exit. Behind him, Veilira said his name. Not Engineer Reed. Not human. Nathan. He stopped. When he looked back, the Queen was standing beneath the fading tribunal lights with no legal reason left to keep him there. And for the first time, whatever she said next would have to begin with a choice. Nathan turned back, one hand still wrapped around the handle of his battered toolkit. Veilira stood where the tribunal lights faded into soft gold. No council surrounding her now. No ancient law speaking through a translator. No collar defining the distance between them. Yes, he asked. For once, she seemed to choose her words carefully. Your shuttle does not depart for another 3 hours. Nathan glanced toward the corridor display. That sounds suspiciously like information. It is. Not an order? No. He waited. Veilira exhaled quietly. Would you stay for dinner? Nathan looked at her for several seconds. Are you asking? The smallest smile touched her face. This time, yes. Something in Nathan relaxed. Then yes. An hour later, they sat in a private observation room overlooking the royal vessel's forward arc. There was no ceremonial table, no court staff, and no evidence case between them. Someone had even found coffee. Nathan lifted the cup, smelled it, and looked pleasantly surprised. This is actually coffee. I was informed that serving you a substitute might create another diplomatic crisis. Your advisors are learning. Veilira's meal consisted of dark grains, pale vegetables, and something Nathan's translator identified only as coastal root. His own plate looked suspiciously designed from a database labeled safe foods humans probably will not complain about. He appreciated the effort. For several minutes, they spoke about ordinary things. Earth weather, karate oceans, why humans put ice in drinks, why karate ships had corridors wide enough for 3 people, but doorways seemingly designed to attack Nathan's shoulders. The conversation felt strange only because nothing required it. Eventually Veilira set down her cup. The Continuity Council issued a secondary ruling. Nathan raised an eyebrow. Should I be worried? They ordered every modern translation of the release covenant reviewed. Good. The phrase that caused our misunderstanding will be replaced. Even better. The proposed Terran translation is protected by sovereign honor through freely accepted obligation. Nathan considered it. Accurate. Terrible conversation starter. Veilira smiled again, easier this time. I recommended against using mine. Humanity appreciates your restraint. Outside the window, distant stars drifted past in silence. Nathan thought about the maintenance corridor. 17% oxygen. Red lights. A stranger telling him not to touch a lock. He had spent 2 days discovering how much history could hide inside one metallic click. Can I ask something? He said. You frequently do. Why did you tell me not to open it if the covenant protected me? Veilira looked toward the stars. Because I knew what the court would see. A human outsider attached to an ancient royal obligation. I knew they would question you, interpret your motives, and turn a simple act into politics. You were trying to keep me out of it. Yes. Nathan nodded slowly. That would have been useful information before the oxygen hit 16%. You would still have opened it. Probably. Then the information would have changed nothing. Also probably. Silence returned, comfortable this time. 3 hours later, Veilira walked with him to the docking gallery. Nathan's travel bag waited beside the shuttle. Commander Tauren stood near the hatch, but remained respectfully distant. Nathan picked up the bag. I suppose this is where I avoid touching any culturally significant objects. A wise policy. Anything else I should know? Veilira considered him. Several hundred things. Send me a manual. You would read it? After this week, I am reading everything. She laughed softly. Nathan had never heard that sound from her before. The shuttle indicator changed to green. He stepped toward the hatch, then stopped. Veilira. Nathan. Dinner was good. The coffee was selected specifically to manipulate your judgment. Effective diplomacy. He entered the shuttle. Before the hatch closed, he looked back. There was no royal gesture between them. No bow. No claim. Just two people looking across a few feet of open doorway, both understanding that nothing required either of them to meet again. That was what made the possibility matter. The hatch closed softly. Veolara remained beside the window as the shuttle separated from her vessel. Nathan watched the royal ship grow smaller against the stars and thought about the collar one last time. He had opened it because someone needed freedom. Everything that followed had taught both of them something simpler than law. A bond imposed by tradition could be dissolved with a signature. The one they chose afterward needed no document at all.